Well, good morning, everybody. Do you like the suit? This is what I'm wearing home to Tina tomorrow on the airplane. Only can wear so much, and I might as well take the most expensive outfit I have with me. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm excited to have Tina unwrap this glorious present when I get home. Big video here this morning. I'm catching up on news feeds. I've finished my place. It's a last cleanup here for a few hours. Spend those crucial hours with my daughters. I didn't get to see any of you in Alberta, and I'm sorry, everybody. It was all business coming home. A lot of work to do, a lot of manual labor tasks that a lot of people don't want to do. I certainly don't like doing them, but I do them. This video is crucial at this time. I've been nailed in Facebook Canada land again. And do you know what it's about, everybody? It's about myself using the term Indian in Canada, Canadian Indians. Apparently, that's hate speech now too, for a white man to say Canadian Indian. Even though, everybody, because I'm a third-class citizen, it's law in Canada. In fact, all the First Peoples fall under the Indian Act, at least those outside of the Arctic Council. They've drawn their lines. They did that some time ago. And for all those not paying attention in USA land, including the liars Justin Trudeau, who I address here, and Pierre Poilievre, who I address here as well too, you seem to think that because you can manipulate the masses, invent words like Indigenous, when the reality is the legal speak you use to suppress, crush, and destroy a people is Canadian Indian. That's your legal speak. That came not just in Crown customary law, but boldly and openly in the written law of this country. No federalism for those people, no self-determination, self-government, or any kind of settlement of the claims. In fact, all of those people, and yes, I say those people because that's clearly, as it's written legally in the Indian Act 1876, which is in force and in power today, 2022. Today, as I give this speech live for all of you, as I'm again crushed in Facebook because apparently I practice hate speech, even though my country is nothing but a bunch of hateful Nazi first-class politicians, elected or appointed by all of you sitting there at home watching me, as well as everybody else in Canada. This is the travesty, the great travesty that leads to the next portion I talk about. Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, and all of the Canadian politicians who boldly stand up condemning Russia, talking about Ukraine. Sorry, everybody. Should have turned off the notices. This is for those condemning, which is Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, and many, many more inside the Commonwealth. Absolutely all attached to the Crown. First-class countries, first-world countries. USA is going to have a reset. That's a fact. Joe Biden grabbing at straws, using this Russia with his buddy Sean Penn, running a false documentary, pure propaganda, pure manure. Pure manure. Indigenous doesn't sit well in the United States of America. Even Joe Biden can't change that. Cemented by a majority House, a massive majority Senate and House, I might add, and the executive power of a president, one Richard Nixon, that nobody likes to talk about because his character was assassinated. Poor old Richard Nixon was looking in the wrong closet. He thought it was communism, just like many of you. Not his fault. when he should have been looking in the crown closet, because that's where it comes from, everybody. Right back to the War of Independence that made America what it is today. The great strength, people say, oh, they were all geniuses. They were not geniuses. They were men and women of mind and intelligence that could see beyond the BS, who lived in the days of the crown, long since removed from America. Or is it? Not because of the executive power of presidents, all presidents, mind you, Republican or Democrat alike, and because of populism. It's not about intelligence, competency, what an administration knows, or what the president will even listen to. It's about populism. What will the people fall for? What will the people gravitate to? How can we use our institution's definition to make our political movement strong? And that's what Joe Biden's doing. He can't handle and hold his platform. It's garbage. Americans are seeing it. He is hoping that this war with Ukraine and Russia, which is absolutely only privy to Russia and Ukraine and nobody else. Nobody else. Anyone who reads the Minsk agreements, which I've called for a million times, anyone who's ever read the binding international laws of this world will know nobody can get involved in this. Nobody. Nobody. European Union has some say. Obviously, France has some say. What Germany's doing against their constitution, what the oath of the Chancellor of Germany right now, who breaches his sworn oath again to the people of Germany, is going to come back and bite that man. Constitutionalism is the highest law of every nation. This is for CNN, Fox News. I am just tickled pink with Tucker Carlson and his path forward as he goes in pure truth. It's amazing. Tucker, you're not alone. My academic community is split and divided. Almost all the American academics zip a lip. And I know it's out of fear. I know many of these friends and followers, it's out of fear. I know the desperation of even those in Ukraine who still don't see the world as it is. They understand constitutionalism. They may understand a lot of things. But when you start comparing realities here, when you start looking at history, when you start looking at economics, when you start looking at international law entirely, which means incorporating a lot of specialized educational directions people take. That's what real champions do. That's what real truth seekers do. They go across all of it. CNN takes their narratives for a paid narrative. You can look CNN with other major media outlets in the United States employs a heck of a lot of actual Crown employees. From Canada, UK, they even have them on the payroll. And why? Because those governments are paying for the news stories, whether people like them or not. But if you keep hammering the American public, eventually they'll believe it. Just look at Canada. You keep hammering them, that's all we get in our news feeds. Anything that promotes government, anything that promotes the Crown. Trick the citizens, lie to them, cheat them, steal them, rape them. This is more than about Ukraine and Russia. It's all about energy independence and energy poverty. There are those that wish to slave the working men, Joe Janes, the American people, the Canadian people, and on throughout all the countries in the world. This is what the NWO platform is all about. They use radical agendas. They've been paying for it for a long time. This by way of the royal family. Easily traced. You'll find Joe Biden wrote a new Atlantic Charter, ripping up and tearing up the fundamental principles agreed to by King George VI, former Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill, yes, one Joseph Stalin, yes, one Teddy Roosevelt. And you know what, everybody? We wouldn't be free and living the lives we have today if it wasn't for that original Atlantic Charter. If you've never read the original, read it. Compare it to the new one by one Joe Biden and Boris Johnson. Stinks like shit. Stinks like shit. It's pathetic. It's outrageous. It's absolutely an absolute destruction of the principles fought and died for, leading us to the United Nations of 1945 under the Charter of the United Nations 1945. That's not the end all and be all, folks. There are many, many terrific international laws that have made this world a tremendously great place. China and Russia have participated, have cemented and passed many with overwhelming majority votes, with abstentions from the others, UK, USA. There's no doubt that America and Russia have always been at odds, but there are historical times in history from 1945 even till just 2 years ago where they've all come together on critical issues. And they ratify something that binds the entire world. It's in those times that the worst of the worst countries have to abandon their narratives. I urge everybody, read the Charter 1945. Read the 1941 Atlantic Charter. Read historical documents that are based in the worst war the world had ever seen, World War II. What all of your ancestors from all over the world fought and died for, where every human being on the face of the earth was affected by that horrific war. Learn the truth. From there, if you can, go through the rest of what was bound by those 5 allies. Learn the truth, because the truth is not Joe Biden. It's absolutely not Justin Trudeau, Stephen Harper before him, or any of Canada's narratives. It never has been. Canada is a horrific abuser of human rights, suppressing them and abusing them. Even to this day, they commit the biggest atrocity against a group of ethnic individuals not seen anywhere else in the world except for Africa and in other nations of Africa, that goes through the International Criminal Court, another court underneath the ICC. Now you hear in news Ukraine's going to take Russia to the ICJ, International Court of Justice, the real one. And you know what? They can't win that either. It's all cockamamie. It's all playing up to every individual in the world today, all for a crown narrative that Joe Biden is sworn to never, ever follow or go after. Yet he's doing that with his executive power because, unfortunately, the very old Constitution of the United States didn't take into account that a president could, in fact, go back to the crown. No, none of the founding fathers, none of the lawyer founding fathers, none of those great minds could imagine in independence that anyone would ever go back, let alone become president and betray the United States of America, the fundamental principles of freedom and absolute abolishment of all crown. But here we are today, and that's exactly what's going on. Sean Penn's out there creating a documentary, a whole drama, a whole fiction. Russia has gone through the entirety of Ukraine, millions of population cities in Ukraine, many of them, 193 casualties. That's a pretty fantastic, complete countrywide invasion. And why are they doing that? As Russia stated, as their parliament stated, for Donbass and Luhansk. If you don't know the history of Ukraine in real reality, go read it. If you choose to ignore it and follow fake news stories, alt-left fake news. That's what it is. It's throughout the entire Commonwealth. National Post right out and sponsored and funded by the Bank of England, by the royal family, National Post Canada, who has many writers working for alt-left media in the United States, completely corrupted. Any other era before 1975, those people would be charged for treason. But this is how far out of cockamamie, out of left field, out of nothing imaginable from the founding fathers could ever imagine that USA could be led this far astray. But that's what happens when you have 54 nations with $13 trillion constantly attacking Russia and the United States of America. Canada, we lead the charge against the United States of America. One day, sooner than later, that's going to come back to roost. Joe Biden believes that he can distract the average American. He believes they're not smart enough to realize their energy poverty continues to grow. They can't make ends meet, and that they're going to vote for him because he's showing a Ukraine narrative that's completely a lie, but it's populism. The institution, he believes the institution of America can be corrupted enough that he can convince enough Americans to forget about your extreme financial pressures that have come since his presidency, and for that matter throughout the world, because there's a divine royal family at work here pulling the strings. Justin Trudeau's telling Joe Biden exactly what to do. This is what we did. This is what you should do, Joe. And he's doing it. A complete breach of the highest right in America, President of the United States, a sacred trust for we the people of America, a gross violation, a gross abuse. Everybody, nothing's going to come of Russia, except if the pressure keeps continually mounting, Russia's going to remove itself from any and all nuclear deals, ratifications, and all international laws. That's what they're going to do. And we're not talking dropping just bombs here, folks. We're talking about building nuclear facilities wherever they want all over the world and saying, to hell with the world and international law. How long until other countries start to realize the UN is defunct? How long until people say, hey, you know what? If this is how the UN's going to behave post-Russia, and what happened to Russia from what was promised in the UN, how many great minds in other countries all over the place are going to say, to hell with you? How long until, let's say, Turkey goes back after Greece? That was just a year ago, folks. That's not the only one. There's literally 40 countries that have stakes and claims that they are just chomping at the bit to take back. And if the Allies decide to punt Russia and there is no more P5, there's no more UN, which means there's no more international binding laws. How many countries are chomping at the bit to tear Canada apart? Do you think NATO's going to save you? Do you think USA can police the entire world? Do you think USA can take on China and Russia, as well as many, many other, and let alone Europe falling apart, South America falling apart, Africa falling apart, all of Southeast Asia, many countries falling apart. In fact, there's countries in third world status that could take Canada tomorrow. They could. Canada says, oh, but we got our fighter jet. Hey, man, you ain't going to be firing bombs into your cities, pal. It's amazing what people think they know, or the grandiose sense of self-worth, or what they're fed to on a silver spoon from the government. The government is never to be fully entrusted, ever, by any citizen everywhere. You must always keep the government at arm's length. They're always to work for you. When you start having to work for your government, when you start having to be a slave to the government, or you're in a situation where your government controls every aspect of your culture, your society, your language, all of it, just like the first people, the Canadian Indians, There's a huge problem. Canada's been a huge problem on the world stage for its entirety. It's too bad what happened with King George VI. It's too bad 1952 was the line in the sand. Thieving, lying politicians took a crown power that was never to be in this world. Presidents like Joe Biden ignore it. They just want the money. They just want to strengthen America. That's not America first, and that is not the American people. It's not even the Constitution of the United States of America. Foreign policies, 5 eyes, the 3 lies. It's time to call her a day. America has a reckoning coming. And then the world's going to have a reckoning coming. I have tremendous faith in the Constitution of the United States of America. I even have more faith in the American people, as they always do, reset themselves, because their Constitution is strong. Joe Biden's not going to win this. His energy poverty, his absolute control of the people through crown colonial powers that should long be removed from this world, is going to backfire on him, and in a big, big way. I can tell you all this. The constitutional congressional mapping, as I told everybody way back when Donald Trump lost, but everyone was so angry they didn't want to hear me, but you can go back to that video. I told you it's up to the 50 states, and the 50 states have taken that education and they're making it work. Not because of Donald Trump, but because of educators like myself. I'm not the only one, but we are in few and we're in short supply. I go public with everything because I got nothing to lose. All the damage that's done to me and has been done to me in my life has already been done. There's nothing more they can take except for my life at this point. And I'm not afraid anymore, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying to climb the highest mountain as a low third-class citizen, as I always have, trying to do impossible things, things that people laugh at, shrug off, but yet in those desperate of times they seem to materialize. When you least expect it, they come to fruition, and when they do, it's always a large hammer blow. And anyone who's ever followed me, look at all the talk of the Security Council now. Does it look cockamamie now? Does it look fake? People telling me this, telling me that. A lot of people are seeing what I've said for many years, what I've educated, what I've brought forward, come to fruition. And we're not done yet. We haven't even skimmed the surface. There's much to learn in this world, as it really is. Not as corrupt governments and corrupt social media, news media, and everything else. There is a need, but it's a power and a want of the few over the many. They're not your friends. It's got nothing to do with billionaires and capitalism or socialism. It's abuse of a ruling elite. And often in a far-off land, people who think they're gods over man, or they have some divine right over you. Learn the truth, people. Don't just listen to media. Don't just listen to governments. Don't get on bandwagons. All this that they talk about, go look for it yourself. Thank you all. That's my video. God bless everybody. Have a great day.